This month, the Now We're Talking project is focusing on Michael J. Murphy's career as a collector of folklore. I was kindly invited down to Dublin by Jonny Dillon of the National Folklore Collection to explore the material deposited by Michael J. to the Irish Folklore Commission. The National Folklore Collection is in the Newman Building within the Belfield campus of UCD in South Dublin. The National Folklore Collection is the successor body to the Irish Folklore Commission established in 1935 by Seamus Ó Delarga and its successor, the Department of Irish Folklore in University College Dublin. Jonny Dillon, Interim Director of the National Folklore Collection, gave me a detailed overview of the history of the collection, explaining how it was developed and why the archive is structured in the way it is. He provided me with plenty of reading just to get my bearings within the collection. Jonny also gave me good insight into the role of a folklore collector.
So the collectors were they were working extensively in the greater area of their own localities. Generally, the collectors worked in areas that they were roughly from or familiar with, and that was for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons was so that you could understand the dialect of Irish or English that was spoken in the area. And the other was with the reason that people would trust you, or eventually would come to trust you, that you weren't sort of parachuted in from some strange parish or whatever. That you were generally working among your own people, and take that in a sort of as broad a way as you'd like. But a collector would generally have a span of areas that they are working in and around at a given time, that they might be sent to by the commission. And as part of that, they would be building on the relationships that they had with people in the community, slowly getting to spend time with them. It wasn't a sort of 9-to-5 job that you kind of clock off at the end of the day. But say in the 30s, 40s, 50s, around the time that Michael J. was working, certainly there would have been a lot of cycling around from house to house, spending time with people in their homes. Some homes were collections were being made in the context of sort of pre-rural electrification. And so a lot of the early recordings were made with the aid of an Epiphone wax cylinder machine, where a wax cylinder was loaded onto the machine, and it would record about 4 or 5 minutes of audio, which the collector would then take home and transcribe. So really a collector's life is made of sort of two, to simplify it excessively maybe in a way, two sort of portions. One is the fieldwork of collecting, which people like Tygo Murchu described as being a great joy. And then the other work of transcription, which that same collector, Tygo Murchu, described as uberchappel, or horse's work, or total drudgery, which he found really difficult, but eventually got the hang of. And so in the context of Michael J.'s work, he was out with and among the people, and spending life in sort of everyday reality with people. But he was also exhaustively, painstakingly, artistically, with great empathy and dignity, capturing and notating the life of ordinary people. And that's where the transcripts in the context of his fieldwork manuscripts particularly come into play. So there was the fieldwork collections among people, and then there was the generation of these large volumes of records. And in Michael J.'s case, we're looking at around 250 volumes, around 30,000 pages roughly of material. So a vast testament to the people from whom he collected.
Michael J. Murphy worked as a folklore collector from 1949 to 1983. 34 years of collecting and depositing material has amassed one of the largest collections of oral tradition in the English-speaking world. 250 bound volumes, or approximately 30,000 typed pages of material collected by Murphy over those 34 years.
Michael J. is one of my favourite collectors and my favourite figures in here. He's sort of a hero to me. He's a sort of mysterious figure. He's obviously someone, his work displays a great wit, great humour, great sensitivity, but enormous dignity and pathos and sort of care for the people from whom he collected. I see him as a sort of champion of the everyday, but the everyday is extraordinary and fantastic, but it becomes fantastic and extraordinary with the passage of time, or if we stop to look and listen at the extraordinary people who surround us, often elderly men or women who might not otherwise have their voices recorded in large national archival repositories or other archival repositories. So Michael J. listened and he gave voice to what he heard. And so I suppose there's a dignity to him, a humour to him. He's a socialist, he was Republican, his ideals were very close to her heart. He was clearly a man of great moral sort of care for society and the people around him. He campaigned against the hiring fares, so he wanted to improve the sort of social conditions in the area in which he worked. His work spanned not across Northern Ireland alone, but sort of across Ulster. He worked down into Louth, into Cavan, from Rathlin Island to Louth, into parts of Meath, even parts of his work. So he had a wide-ranging span across Northern Ireland, across the north of Ireland, across Ulster, and across the cross-section of various people and communities living there. So the thing that strikes me with his work that stands out in opposition mainly to many others, or the particular sort of characteristic of his work that struck and resonated with me always, was in the context of his diaries and his fieldwork collections, where it's not just this data, it's not just these motifs and the stories that he's gathering, but it's all interwoven into this sort of holistic little cosmos of the kitchen table. This picture of reality just unfurls before you in this beautiful way. It opens up, his material opens up. It's not just this little story or these little items. He really manages to capture reality in a way that's quite profound. It's this sort of the extraordinary reality that we're surrounded by every day, and which increasingly sort of vanishes before us. So I see him as, in a way, the last of a type of a sort of breed of people, in a sense, who was working, I guess, to collect from the old people as society and life was changing in an enormous way. And ultimately, his work for me is characterised by love for the people and the place from whom he collected, by the land that he was from. And I think it just pours off every page of his material. So I'm delighted to see that this material will be made more available to people in PRONI and further afield. So, yeah.
I would like to thank Jonny Dillon and all the staff at the National Folklore Collection for their hospitality and generosity in accommodating this visit to UCD. Much of the material related to Michael J. Murphy's folklore collecting will be available to view on the PRONI e-catalogue and in Chicullen, Mullaban, County Armagh, as well as on ducas.ie and in person at the National Folklore Collection. And thanks once again to the Archives Reveal Consortium grant for making all of this possible. For a more detailed account of Michael J. Murphy's work as a folklore collector, please see this month's blog.